You don't belong here, not in first class. Move now, or I'll have security drag you off this plane. Some people just don't understand their place. Seats like this? They're not for everyone, especially not you. The first-class cabin hums softly, sunlight pouring through wide windows, making the polished leather seats and gold accents glow in the morning light. Everything feels calm, but it's the kind of calm that hides tension waiting to explode. Passengers shuffle in, pulling expensive carry-ons, their voices low, their movements precise. Every sound echoes, the faint clink of champagne glasses, the soft hum of ambient music, the rolling wheels on the aisle carpet. It feels exclusive. Untouchable. But then, the first shift in the air. At row 4, a young black girl, Amara, around 20, settles quietly by the window. Her cream blouse and tailored dark slacks are neat, understated. Her posture is straight, her hands folded in her lap. She doesn't speak, doesn't fidget. She's just there. Yet, from near the galley, Lauren, the lead flight attendant, late 30s, catches sight of her. Lauren's blonde bun is wound so tightly it almost gleams. Her uniform is crisp, her lips painted sharp red. And her smile, the one she used moments ago for an older white couple boarding, disappears. Lauren doesn't say a word yet. But her eyes linger too long. Her head tilts. Her expression hardens just slightly, enough for a few passengers to notice the shift. A nosy socialite in a pearl necklace leans to her friend and whispers, just loud enough for others to hear. Who is she? Doesn't exactly look first class. The words hang. The businessman across the aisle lowers his newspaper, his brow creasing as his eyes flick between Lauren and Amara. Lauren slowly picks up the passenger manifest from her station. Her eyes flick down the list. She scans it once, twice. Her lips curve into the faintest, knowing smirk as she tucks the paper under her arm. Then, deliberately, Lauren begins to walk toward row 4. Each click of her heels on the soft carpet feels louder than it should, every step drawing more eyes from the nearby passengers. Some straighten in their seats, sensing something is about to happen. The camera lingers on Amara's face. She doesn't look up. She doesn't flinch. Her calm, unreadable expression stands in stark contrast to the growing tension around her. A faint whisper floats from behind. Why does it feel like something's about to go down? Lauren stops just beside Amara's row. She doesn't speak yet, she just looks at her, that polite, fake smile tugging at her lips. The entire row has gone quiet. All anyone can hear is the hum of the engines and the faint shuffle of a champagne cart up front. Suspense hangs heavy. Something's about to break. Are you sure this is your seat? Or are you just hoping no one notices, until I call security? Seats like this aren't for everyone, and definitely not for you. Stand up now, or you'll be escorted off this plane in front of everyone. The calm hum of the cabin begins to fracture. The tension builds as Lauren, the lead flight attendant, leans just slightly into row 4, her voice pitched perfectly loud so that everyone around can hear. Amara, sitting by the window, doesn't look up immediately. She sits still, her hand resting lightly on the armrest, her gaze on the soft glow of sunlight cutting across the clouds outside. Her calmness only makes Lauren's posture stiffer. Lauren finally breaks the silence, her tone sharp and sweet all at once. Lauren, condescending. Ma'am, are you sure this is your seat? Or, maybe you just wandered up here by mistake? Her words float down the aisle like bait, drawing curious glances from nearby passengers. The nosy socialite in pearls leans closer to her friend, whispering loudly enough for a few others to hear. Called it. She's trying to get something she didn't pay for. Across the aisle, the businessman folds his newspaper slowly, his jaw tightening. He watches but says nothing, yet. Amara finally turns her head toward Lauren. Her eyes are calm, her expression neutral, her voice low and steady. Amara. Yes. This is my seat. She doesn't raise her voice. She doesn't argue. But her composure makes Lauren's fake smile falter for a brief second. Lauren recovers quickly, her red lips curling upward in something that could almost pass for a smile, but her eyes are cold. Lauren, raising her voice slightly. Really? Because this section is reserved for our elite passengers. And I don't see your name fitting in here. A ripple of whispers runs through the cabin. Phones shift in hands, a few passengers tilt them discreetly to record. Someone murmurs. What's she doing? She hasn't even checked the list. Amara, still poised, leans back slightly in her seat, her eyes steady on Lauren. Her voice remains soft, but it carries. Amara, you might want to double-check. Before you make a scene you'll regret. Lauren's smile sharpens into something more like a sneer. She glances around, as if gathering support from the passengers, then looks back down at Amara. Lauren, louder, for everyone. Oh, I don't need to check anything. I can see who belongs here and who doesn't. Gasps ripple from a few rows away. The businessman finally clears his throat, his voice low but firm. Businessman. Maybe you should check, before this gets ugly. Lauren shoots him a glare. Lauren, snapping. Sir, please. Don't interfere. We have policies for a reason. She turns back to Amara, standing straighter, her voice now dripping with mock authority. Lauren. Now, either you move to economy, where you belong, or I'll make sure security removes you before takeoff. The cabin goes silent. All that's left is the faint hum of the engines, the clink of a glass from the galley, and the sound of someone's phone quietly recording from behind. Amara blinks once, slowly. She turns her eyes back to the sunlight beyond the window, her voice calm but carrying a weight that stills the air around her. Amara. Call whoever you want. But understand something, this is a mistake you can't take back. The words linger like a warning. Lauren's jaw tightens. She doesn't answer yet. She just grips the manifest tighter under her arm, her knuckles whitening. The passengers lean forward, holding their breath, waiting for what happens next. The atmosphere feels charged, electric, like a storm building before it breaks. Seats like these? They're for people who earned them, not for stowaways. Look around you, do you really see yourself here? Move, before I have the captain personally escort you off this plane. Some people just don't understand their place. The tension inside the cabin grows thicker with every breath. The soft hum of the engines now feels drowned beneath the low buzz of whispers sweeping across first class. Every set of eyes seems to shift toward row 4, where Amara sits silently, her posture unchanged. Lauren stands over her, one hand gripping the passenger manifest, the other resting firmly on her hip, her stance wide, deliberate, a silent message to the rest of the cabin that she's in control. Her smile is gone now, replaced by a look of thinly veiled disdain. The nosy socialite leans even further into the aisle, her phone subtly angled toward Amara and Lauren. Her whisper, not as quiet as she thinks, snakes through the row. She probably can't even afford to be up here. Wonder who she fooled to get that ticket. Her friend chuckles under her breath, shaking her head. Across the aisle, the businessman's jaw flexes. He doesn't speak yet, but his gaze lingers on Lauren with growing irritation. Lauren catches the whispers and lets a smirk tug at her lips. She knows the murmurs fuel her dominance. She straightens slightly and steps closer to Amara, her shadow falling over the girl's lap. Lauren, projecting her voice, for the whole row to hear. Ladies and gentlemen, it looks like we've got ourselves a mix-up. Some passengers think they can just waltz into first class without actually belonging here. Gasps ripple through the cabin, some muffled, some sharp. A few passengers exchange awkward glances, while others, phones raised, keep filming silently. Amara's eyes lift from the sunlight streaming through the window. Her gaze is calm, level, and steady as she finally turns fully to meet Lauren's. Her voice, soft but unwavering, cuts through the air. Amara. You're speaking loudly, but you're not saying anything that's true. Lauren's brows arch, her condescending tone sharpening. Lauren. Oh, sweetie. I think everyone here can see what's happening. Seats like these? They aren't for just anyone. They're for people who earned them, or, at the very least, paid for them. The socialite smirks, her pearls shifting as she leans forward. Exactly. Some people just don't know their place. The words sting the air, latching onto the tension like static. Amara doesn't move. She doesn't break her posture. She simply tilts her head ever so slightly, her eyes narrowing just enough to send a shiver through Lauren despite her confident stance. Amara, even softer, but each word clear. You should be careful about assuming who people are and what they've earned. Lauren scoffs, her voice rising as she gestures toward the front of the plane. Lauren. Careful. No, you should be careful. Because if you don't move to the section where you belong, I'll make sure security removes you before we even leave this runway. The engine hum feels louder now, filling the heavy pause that follows. The businessman finally leans forward, his deep voice breaking the standoff. Businessman, firmly. Flight attendant, maybe, check the manifest. Unless you want this to turn into something much bigger. Lauren snaps her head toward him, her tone sharp. Lauren. Sir, this doesn't concern you. Please remain seated. Her tone shifts back to syrupy sweet as she refocuses on Amara. Lauren, mocking smile. Now, are you going to stand up, or should I let everyone here watch you be escorted out like the fraud you're pretending to be? The row goes still. Phones are up. Some passengers are wide-eyed, others whispering furiously under their breath. The air feels like it could crack from the tension. Amara, unshaken, leans back slightly, her fingers tapping once on the armrest as her gaze holds Lauren's without flinching. Her voice is quiet but holds a weight that cuts through every sound in the cabin. Amara. You're mistaking silence for weakness. And that is the biggest mistake you've made today. Lauren hesitates for a fraction of a second, just long enough for the businessman and Grace, the junior attendant near the cockpit, to exchange a glance. Grace's fingers twitch toward the passenger manifest clipped to the wall. The camera lingers on Lauren's face as she forces a tight smile, hiding the unease flickering in her eyes. The moment stretches, tension thick enough that the faint ding of a seatbelt sign in the background makes 3 passengers jump. Stand up, or I'll have security meet us at the gate. One call, and you'll be walking off this plane in handcuffs. You think being quiet will save you? It won't, not here. Last warning, move, or I'll make sure you regret staying in that seat. The whispers in the cabin swell into a hushed chorus, the tension so sharp it feels like the air itself could split. Phones are still raised, subtle yet deliberate, as passengers pretend to check messages while recording the unfolding confrontation. Lauren, her posture tall and rigid, pulls the cabin phone from its holster with a practiced flick. Her perfectly manicured nails tap against the buttons, loud enough for anyone nearby to hear. She doesn't look at Amara. She doesn't need to. Her voice, when she speaks, carries through the entire cabin. Lauren, into phone, sharply. Captain, we may have a passenger issue. Potentially fraudulent boarding in first class. Might need security on arrival. Gasps ripple through the aisle. A few passengers whisper more audibly now. Fraudulent? She doesn't even know if that's true. She didn't even check her name on the manifest. Across the aisle, the businessman lowers his phone, no longer pretending to scroll. He's recording openly now, his calm face betraying nothing, though his jaw is tight. Amara, meanwhile, does not move. She sits exactly as she has from the start, back straight, eyes calm, her hand resting lightly on the edge of her seatbelt buckle. The sunlight through the window bathes her in a glow, her stillness stark against the rising storm around her. Lauren, still on the phone, throws a glance down the aisle as if performing for the passengers. Lauren, louder, for all to hear. Everyone, we'll resolve this quickly. We have standards on this plane, and no one bypasses them, not on my watch. The nosy socialite in pearl smirks, whispering to her companion, intentionally loud. About time. Can't just let anyone take a first-class seat. Makes the whole cabin feel cheap. Grace, the junior attendant near the cockpit, glances nervously at the passenger manifest pinned to the wall. She runs her finger down the list until she sees a name, highlighted in bold, Amara Williams, VIP priority. Her lips part slightly, and she glances toward row 4. Her instinct screams to speak, but Lauren's cold eyes flick toward her for a fraction of a second, and she freezes. Lauren hangs up the phone, her red-painted lips curling into a self-satisfied smirk. She steps closer to Amara's row, heels clicking softly on the plush carpet, her voice dripping with smug authority. "Lauren, you heard me. Security will meet us when we land. We'll see if that ticket you're clutching holds up once we're off the plane." The row falls silent. Even the socialite stops whispering. The tension feels heavy, like static in the air before a thunderclap. Amara slowly turns her head to look at Lauren. Her expression remains calm, but her eyes hold a weight that makes Lauren hesitate for just a heartbeat. "Amara," softly, her tone even. "Call whoever you want. Bring as many as you like. Just know, every word you've said, every move you've made, is already a mistake you can't take back." The words linger, sharp and deliberate, sinking into the uneasy silence. The businessman's voice finally cuts in, calm but firm. "Businessman. Flight attendant, you're escalating a situation you haven't even verified. Check the list, or this is going to get very public, very fast." Lauren glares at him, but there's a flicker, the first tiny crack in her confidence. She masks it with a sneer, turning her attention back to Amara. "Lauren," briskly, "you're disrupting this cabin. And if you think your little warnings will scare me, they won't. People like you, they always fold when real authority shows up." Phones quietly click to record. The humming of the engines feels louder, more ominous. The faces of every passenger nearby are taut, waiting, whispering, sensing something big is about to snap. Lauren steps back slightly, adjusting her blazer as if to remind herself of her control. But her eyes flicker, just once, toward Grace near the cockpit, and the passenger manifests still glowing under the cabin lights. The camera holds on Lauren's face as she exhales sharply, her facade intact but her pulse visibly rising. "Touch that bag, and it'll be the last mistake you ever make on this job. Keep talking, and watch how fast this plane stops for you, not me. Do you hear it? That silence? Everyone's watching, and so is someone you don't see yet. Go ahead, call the captain again. It won't save you." The air in the cabin feels heavier now, like the pressure just before a storm breaks. The faint hum of the engines is the only sound for a long, brittle pause. No one moves. No one speaks. Even the socialite with the pearls finally stops whispering, sensing something in Amara's tone that makes the laughter in her throat die. Lauren, still standing tall in the aisle, reaches down and grabs the handle of Amara's sleek carry-on, which sits neatly beneath her seat. Her manicured fingers tighten on the leather strap, as if asserting dominance. Amara, who hasn't shifted an inch this entire time, slowly turns her head. Her eyes meet Lauren's hand, then travel up to lock on her face. Her voice, when it comes, is calm, soft, but laced with an authority that chills the entire row. "Amara, quiet, deliberate. Touch that bag again, and it'll be the last mistake you ever make on this job." Lauren's hand freezes on the strap. Her confident stance falters for a flicker of a second, a subtle twitch in her jaw betraying her nerves. But she forces a smirk, masking it with a mocking laugh. Lauren, light, feigned amusement. "Oh, please. Are we supposed to be scared? Who exactly do you think you're talking to?" The businessman across the aisle shifts forward, his elbows on his knees, his voice firm but low. "Businessman. Flight attendant, I'd stop now. You're seconds away from crossing a line you can't undo." Lauren spins on him, her tone sharp. "Lauren. Stay out of this. This isn't your fight." The businessman doesn't raise his voice, but his words slice through the tension. "Businessman. It is when you're harassing someone in front of witnesses. And all of those witnesses have cameras." For a moment, the soft sounds of phones recording click quietly in unison. Several passengers angle their devices just enough to capture the scene, their faces tense, waiting for whatever happens next. Lauren turns back to Amara, her smile brittle, her confidence shaken just slightly but still hanging by a thread. She steps closer, lowering her voice so only Amara can hear, but the cabin is so silent that everyone can still make out the words. Lauren, whispering, through clenched teeth. You're bluffing. People like you, they always are. Amara leans forward just slightly, her calmness unnerving against Lauren's forced bravado. Her tone is soft enough to draw the row in closer, but sharp enough to feel like a knife. Amara. You've been so busy performing for everyone, you didn't notice who's been watching you. Lauren's eyes flick upward instinctively, to the cockpit door, to the businessman, to Grace near the manifest, and for the first time, her smirk falters. Her fingers release the bag handle slowly. The cabin is dead silent. The socialite leans back into her seat. Grace, still near the cockpit, quietly picks up her phone, stepping just slightly out of sight as she dials. Her voice is hushed, urgent. Grace, to phone. It's Grace. We have a situation, and it's about to blow up. Lauren doesn't hear it. She's too focused on Amara, who hasn't looked away from her once. The businessman whispers to no one in particular, his words almost drowned by the engine hum but not quite. She's not bluffing, and Lauren has no idea who she's messing with. The camera lingers on Lauren's face, the first beads of doubt forming behind her practiced smirk, as the faint ding of the fasten seatbelt sign echoes through the cabin. Keep pretending, Lauren, but even you can feel it slipping. You're not in charge anymore. Not of me. Not of this cabin. Every step you take, someone's watching. Someone you can't silence. You still think this is your plane? You'll find out soon enough it isn't. The atmosphere inside first class feels like a taut wire, stretched to the point it could snap at any second. The whispers have died down, not because the tension is gone, but because everyone is waiting for something to break. Lauren, her heels anchored in the aisle, forces a straightened posture. Her manicured fingers smooth the edge of her blazer as if to remind herself she's still in control. But her eyes, darting subtly to the phones raised, the businessman's unblinking stare, and Grace near the cockpit, betray a creeping unease. Grace, standing a few steps away, keeps her phone close to her lips, her voice hushed but firm as she steps halfway behind the bulkhead. Grace, low, into phone. Yes, it's her. Row 4. She's calm, but the lead is escalating. You need to come down here, now. She ends the call and slips the phone back into her pocket, her fingers trembling slightly as she grips the passenger manifest tighter. Her eyes dart back to Amara, then to Lauren, as if bracing for what comes next. Lauren notices the movement. Her eyes narrow, her voice pitched just high enough for nearby passengers to hear. Lauren, sharp. Grace, what are you doing? Who are you calling? Grace freezes, caught between duty and fear. She opens her mouth, but before she can answer, Amara finally moves. For the first time since sitting down, she shifts her posture, slowly crossing one leg over the other, her calm composure exuding an authority that doesn't need to be spoken. Amara, quietly, but her words cutting. She wasn't calling for me. She was calling for you. Lauren's eyes snap to Amara, her smirk faltering for just a fraction of a second. The businessman finally leans forward, his deep voice calm but heavy with warning. Businessman. She told you before, flight attendant, you're making a mistake you can't undo. Maybe listen this time. Lauren spins toward him, her voice rising slightly. Lauren, snapping. Sir, this doesn't concern you. Please remain seated. Her voice cracks just slightly on the last word, a tell that doesn't go unnoticed. The passengers whisper again, this time not about Amara, but about Lauren. She's losing it. Why doesn't she just check the list? Lauren's head swivels back to Amara, desperate to regain the illusion of power. She kneels slightly, lowering her voice so only Amara, and the few people leaning in, can hear. Lauren, hissing. Whatever game you're playing. I'll end it before we leave the ground. Amara doesn't flinch. Doesn't lean back. Her voice remains as soft and steady as it has been since the start. Amara. You already lost. You just don't see it yet. For a moment, the only sounds are the hum of the engines and the faint clatter of glasses from the galley. Lauren rises back to her full height, forcing her usual icy smile as she turns toward the cockpit, intending to radio again. But as she steps forward, the cabin door clicks open. From the corner of the aisle, a shadow appears, a uniformed officer from ground security, quietly boarding the plane mid-boarding window. Passengers gasp softly, their whispers filling the air once again. Why is security here already? Did she just call them for this girl? Or is it for her? Lauren turns, expecting to see backup on her side, but the officer's eyes flick past her immediately, landing squarely on Amara. He nods once in silent acknowledgement, not to Lauren, but to the calm young woman by the window. Lauren's smirk freezes mid-curve, her breath catching. Do you feel it, Lauren? The air's not with you anymore. Every whisper, every camera, none of it's against her. It's all on you. You thought this cabin was yours to control. Now it's slipping through your fingers. And the worst part? Everyone sees it, before you do. The quiet tension in first class starts to shift. What had been a room full of cautious onlookers is now a room full of witnesses, and every whisper, every side glance, every phone angled in the aisle is aimed at Lauren, not Amara. The security officer, still silent by the bulkhead, crosses his arms. His gaze doesn't leave Amara, but he doesn't move toward her. He simply waits, as if he knows something Lauren doesn't. Lauren notices. Her smile tightens, her fingers brushing against the passenger manifest she still clutches like a lifeline. Her posture remains tall, but the faint shift in her shoulders betrays her confidence is cracking. Grace, standing just behind the officer, finally steps forward. Her hands tremble slightly, but her voice is steady as she addresses Lauren, not loudly, but loud enough for the first few rows to hear. Grace, careful, but firm. Lauren, maybe we should double-check the manifest before we... Lauren whirls on her, her voice sharp. Lauren. Grace. I said I have this handled. The snap draws a wave of soft murmurs from the nearby seats. The businessman, who's been watching quietly, leans forward with a measured calm. Businessman. She's right. Check the list, before you find yourself on the wrong end of all these cameras. Several passengers subtly tilt their phones higher, making it obvious now that Lauren is being filmed from multiple angles. The socialite, who had been whispering against Amara moments ago, nudges her friend and leans back, no longer daring to mutter a word. Lauren's jaw tightens. She forces a laugh, brittle and thin. Lauren, mocking. What, because a few people have phones out, I'm supposed to let anyone sit wherever they want? That's not how this works. The businessman's reply is calm, but every syllable carries weight. Businessman. No. But neither is harassing a passenger, especially one whose ticket says more than you think it does. Lauren's head snaps toward him, her red lips pressed into a line, but before she can retort, Amara finally speaks again. Her voice is as soft and steady as it's been, but now, it carries a tone that feels almost like a quiet verdict. Amara. She told you once. He told you twice. But you're still not listening, and now, everyone here sees it. The whispers swell louder this time, a tide that Lauren can't control. Why hasn't she just checked the list? She's embarrassing herself now. This is going to go viral, look at all the phones. Lauren's gaze flicks between the phones, the passengers, and Grace, whose fingers now rest firmly on the manifest, ready to reveal what Lauren's been avoiding. For the first time, Lauren steps back a fraction, her polished heels sliding on the plush carpet. Her breath is just a touch quicker, her icy demeanor slipping as the cabin feels like it's tilting against her. And then, the security officer finally speaks for the first time. His tone is calm, measured, but laced with something that makes Lauren's spine stiffen. Officer. Ms. Reed, maybe you should stand down for now. We're here for a reason. Lauren turns to him, confused, her voice catching slightly. Lauren. For her. The officer doesn't answer. He just glances back at Amara, whose expression hasn't changed. She sits as she has all along, poised, calm, her gaze fixed softly on the morning light streaming through the window. The cabin goes quiet again, every eye locked on the silent girl by the window, and the lead attendant whose grip on control is slipping by the second. Smile all you want, Lauren, it won't hide the panic in your eyes. You can't charm your way out of this. Not this time. Everyone's watching. Every phone is rolling. Every second counts against you. And no amount of fake smiles will change who's really in charge here. The pressure in the cabin is almost suffocating now. Each breath feels slow, deliberate, as if everyone is afraid to break the heavy silence. Phones remain tilted just enough to record, their little red lights winking like silent witnesses. Lauren, standing in the aisle, plasters on a sugary smile, the kind of customer service sweetness she uses when her irritation threatens to show. But her eyes, flickering between the officer, Grace, and Amara, betray her unease. She crouches slightly beside Amara's row, pitching her voice lower, dripping with mock warmth. Lauren, soft, fake sweet. Sweetheart. I'm just trying to help. You'll be so much more comfortable in economy. More people, like you. The words slice through the quiet, their venom obvious even beneath the syrupy tone. Gasps ripple through the nearby rows. Someone murmurs audibly. Did she just say that? On camera? The businessman straightens in his seat, his voice level but edged. Businessman. You should stop talking. Every word is digging you deeper. Lauren glances at him, her smile tightening. She tilts her head toward the security officer, her voice still light, but louder now, loud enough for everyone to hear. Lauren. Officer, perhaps you can help me explain to our guest that she doesn't belong here. The officer doesn't move. His gaze stays on Amara, his arms crossed. His tone, when he finally speaks, is calm but firm and sends a ripple through the cabin. Officer. Ms. Reed, my instructions are not to remove her. My instructions are to make sure she remains undisturbed. Lauren's smile falters visibly. Her breath hitches, just for a moment. The passengers exchange glances, whispers sparking like tiny sparks in dry air. Wait, so she's not the problem? What does that mean? Who is she? This is about to get interesting. Grace, emboldened by the officer's words, finally pulls the manifest from under her arm and flips it open. Her voice is quiet, but steady as she reads just loud enough for the front rows. Grace. Row 4, Seat A. Amara Williams. VIP priority. Special note, do not disturb. The last 3 words echo through the row like a gavel hitting wood. The passengers murmur louder now, no longer trying to be discreet. Phones lift higher. Lauren's jaw tightens so hard the tension shows in her neck. She snatches the manifest from Grace's hand, her movements sharp, no longer controlled. Lauren, snapping, her voice rising. This doesn't mean anything. We still need to verify. The officer steps forward just slightly, his stance firm. Officer, cutting her off. It means everything, Ms. Reed. And you'd better calm yourself before this becomes a much bigger issue than you're ready for. Lauren's breathing quickens. The polished mask she's worn since the boarding began is cracking. Around her, passengers are no longer whispering. They're staring openly, recording openly, waiting for the storm to finally hit. Amara, meanwhile, hasn't moved. She sits as calm as she did from the moment she boarded, her gaze on the sunlight outside the window. But now, there's the faintest hint of a smile tugging at her lips. The camera lingers on Lauren's face, her icy professionalism melting into something raw, frustration, panic, and a growing realization that she might not be the one calling the shots anymore. If I can't push you out, I'll humiliate you instead. You want to sit here? Fine, let's see how comfortable you are drenched and humiliated. Everyone's watching. One move from me, and they'll all laugh at you. You're quiet now, but let's see how calm you stay when the whole cabin turns on you. The cabin is a pressure cooker, quiet, but simmering with tension. The faint hum of the engines mixes with the whispers of passengers still recording, their phones discreet but steady. Lauren, jaw tight, adjusts her blazer sharply as if to reassert control. Her gaze darts to the cart of drinks near the galley, a tray of chilled sparkling water perched neatly at the edge. Her lips curl into the faintest, brittle smile. She glides back down the aisle with the tray, her heels soft on the carpet, her movements deliberately slow and measured, every eye following her. The socialite leans forward, whispering. "What's she doing now?" Lauren doesn't answer. She doesn't need to. As she approaches row 4, her eyes lock on Amara's lap, where the young woman sits still, legs folded neatly, posture calm as ever. The sunlight catches Amara's cream blouse, casting her in a soft glow that makes Lauren's glare harden. Then it happens. A single, practiced stumble. Lauren's polished heel catches on the plush carpet. Her body jerks forward, not clumsy, not uncontrolled, but just enough to send the tray tilting. The glasses of water tip, liquid splashing over Amara's lap and pooling on the cabin floor. The sound is sharp. Sudden. Several passengers gasp. Lauren recoils dramatically, clutching the tray against her chest as her voice rings through the cabin. Lauren, loud, accusing. "Watch where you're putting your legs. Look at this mess, you block my path." The socialite lets out a startled laugh, while others murmur, their whispers filled with disbelief rather than amusement. Did she just blame her? That looked intentional. She did that on purpose? I'm recording this. Amara, drenched but composed, slowly brushes the water from her trousers. Her movements are calm, her face unreadable. She looks up at Lauren, her voice low but crystal clear, cutting through the murmurs. "Amara, you walked into my space. I didn't move." Lauren scoffs, her voice dripping with mock authority. "Lauren, passengers in first class keep their legs in line. Maybe you're not used to these standards." The businessman leans forward, his tone firm, no longer bothering to mask his disapproval. "Businessman. Enough. Everyone saw what just happened. You're making a fool of yourself." Lauren spins toward him, her red lips pressed into a sneer. Lauren, snapping. "Mind your business, sir. I'm enforcing order." The security officer near the cockpit shifts his stance, stepping closer, not to Amara, but closer to Lauren, his eyes narrowing slightly. Amara, still seated, folds her hands neatly on her lap. Her voice stays soft, but her words carry like a verdict. "Amara, all I asked for was respect, the same as everyone else here. If that's too much to ask, maybe you're the one who doesn't belong in this cabin." The words hang, echoing in the quiet. Passengers turn to one another, murmuring. "Did you hear that? She's right. Lauren's digging her own grave. Who is this girl? She's not even rattled." Lauren's nostrils flare. Her hand trembles just slightly as she grips the tray tighter. Her anger finally boils over into something raw. She steps closer, lowering her voice but not enough to hide the venom. Lauren, hissing. "You think you can talk to me like that? You'll regret this. I promise you." Amara tilts her head, her calm demeanor unbroken, even as water drips from her clothes. Her voice is softer still, but every syllable feels deliberate. "Amara, you're right. Actions have consequences. And yours are about to arrive." Lauren's face tightens, not just in anger, but with a faint flicker of something she hasn't felt all flight, unease. The camera lingers on her expression, the quiet murmurs of the passengers building into a low hum as Grace glances once more toward the cockpit, fingers twitching near her phone. "You think your silence makes you strong? Watch how fast I break it. If I can't push you out, I'll make sure everyone here sees you as the problem. No one defies me on this plane, no one. You'll wish you just moved when I told you to." The air in the cabin is electric, the tension so dense it feels like even the hum of the engines is vibrating heavier. The passengers are no longer whispering out of curiosity, they're whispering out of disbelief, their phones raised openly now, some angled without shame. Lauren's mask is gone. No fake smiles, no measured customer service charm. Her face is taut, her jaw set, her eyes narrowed into sharp slits as she stares down at Amara. The tray of water glasses rattles faintly in her trembling grip. Grace stands frozen near the cockpit, her hand hovering near the intercom, torn between intervening and following orders. The security officer, arms crossed just behind her, watches silently, his stance unmoving, his gaze locked on Lauren. Lauren drops the tray abruptly on the service cart, the glasses clinking. She steps closer to Amara, her heels thudding sharply on the plush carpet now, no longer careful or quiet. Her voice rises, filling the cabin with venom. Lauren, snapping. That's it. You've disrupted this cabin long enough. Either you stand up now or I'll have you escorted off this plane by force when we land, and trust me, you won't like how that looks on video. The businessman, calm as ever, leans forward in his seat, his voice steady but with a steel edge. Businessman. Those videos? They're already rolling. And they're not on her, they're on you. The murmurs rise audibly now. Someone a few rows back mutters. She's lost it. She's going to get herself fired. Why hasn't anyone stepped in yet? Lauren's head snaps around at the whispers, her voice cutting through them. Lauren, shouting. Everyone stay out of this. This is my plane, my rules. The security officer's voice cuts in, calm but commanding, making every passenger's head turn. Officer. Actually, Ms. Reed, it isn't. Lauren's body goes rigid. Her eyes dart to him, confusion flashing across her face for the first time. Lauren, snapping back. Excuse me? The officer steps forward, his presence looming without effort, his tone still calm but loaded with finality. Officer. My instructions were clear. I'm not here to remove her. I'm here to make sure you stop escalating a situation you don't understand. Gasps ripple down the aisle like a wave. The socialite lowers her phone, leaning toward her friend. Did he just side with the girl? What is going on? Lauren's eyes flick from the officer to Amara, who hasn't moved, hasn't flinched, hasn't raised her voice once. The young woman's calm stare meets Lauren's, a quiet power radiating from her stillness. Amara finally speaks, her voice soft, carrying easily over the murmurs and the hum of the engines. Amara. You keep saying this is your plane. But it never was. You just don't know whose it really is. The words hang like a thunderclap, the silence that follows deafening. Lauren's fingers curl into fists at her sides. Her eyes, for the first time, flicker with something foreign to her usual poise, fear. The passengers murmur again, louder this time, their whispers laced with anticipation. Who is she? She's not just a passenger, is she? This is about to blow up. The camera lingers on Lauren's face, her breath shallow, her composure cracking as the sound of approaching footsteps echoes faintly from the cockpit. Someone important is coming. You thought you could run this cabin, now watch who really controls it. Every threat, every word, is about to come back to you. The person walking in isn't here for her, they're here for you. This isn't your plane anymore, Lauren. It never was. The sound of heavy, deliberate footsteps breaks through the tension, a sharp click, click, click echoing from the cockpit. The passengers straighten instinctively, their whispers halting mid-breath. Even the faint hum of the engine seems to fade under the weight of those steps. The cockpit door swings open. The captain emerges, a tall man in his late 40s, uniform crisp, cap tucked under his arm, his face tight and serious. He surveys the cabin once, his eyes sweeping over the passengers, the officer, Lauren, and finally landing on Amara. The atmosphere shifts immediately. Whispers start again, softer this time but tinged with excitement. Why is the captain out here? He's never this involved unless it's serious. This has to be about her, or maybe about the attendant. Lauren straightens her blazer, forcing her most professional posture as the captain strides closer. Her smile, though brittle, creeps back onto her lips as she tries to reclaim some control. Lauren, sweetly, gesturing toward Amara. Captain, I was just handling a situation. This passenger may have boarded with an invalid ticket, and she's been. The captain's hand raises, silencing her mid-sentence. His voice is low, steady, but cold enough to chill the cabin. Captain. Ms. Reed. Step aside. The command cuts like a blade. Lauren blinks, her smile faltering. Lauren, confused, but trying to sound firm. Captain, with all due respect, I'm just maintaining order. We can't let anyone. The captain steps closer, his shadow falling across her, his voice lowering further, each word deliberate, for her ears but loud enough that nearby passengers catch it. Captain. This passenger is not to be moved. She is not to be disturbed. Those are my instructions, directly from management. The whispers ignite again, spreading like a wave down the aisle. Management? Who is she? This isn't just some passenger. Something big is about to happen. Lauren's face pales slightly, her breath hitching for just a moment before she tries to salvage her authority. Lauren, forcing composure. With respect, Captain, we need to verify. The security officer steps forward, his voice calm but with a finality that makes Lauren's words die in her throat. Officer. It's already been verified. She's not the issue, Ms. Reed. You are. The businessman across the aisle leans back, a knowing smirk tugging at his lips as he murmurs just loud enough for others to hear. Told you. She's not just another passenger. Lauren's eyes flicker, from the captain, to the officer, to Grace, who now stands with the manifest clearly visible in her hands, the words VIP priority, do not disturb glowing under the cabin lights. The cabin goes silent again, every eye now locked on the single person who hasn't said more than a handful of words since she boarded, Amara. She still hasn't moved. Her posture is calm, her eyes on the window, the morning sunlight washing over her. But now, a faint, almost imperceptible smile touches her lips. Lauren, for the first time, takes a small step back. When control slips, desperation shows. Every fake smile, every excuse, it's all crumbling now. You can't out-talk the truth, Lauren. Not with everyone watching. This cabin isn't your stage anymore. And she's not your victim. The silence in first class feels louder than any noise, a stillness charged with tension, with eyes and cameras fixed on Lauren. Her hands, once so steady, now twitch faintly against the hem of her blazer as she forces herself to stand taller. The captain's gaze remains locked on her, unwavering, his arms folded across his chest. The security officer shifts his weight slightly, his stance relaxed but alert, like someone waiting for a final trigger. Lauren exhales slowly, pasting on a strained smile as she crouches slightly, addressing Amara in a tone soaked with false sweetness. Lauren, soft, but loud enough for the cabin. Ms. Williams, if that's really your name, perhaps we just had a misunderstanding. Let's get you another glass of champagne, maybe a blanket. We want you comfortable, after all. The passengers exchange glances, their whispers cutting through the staged kindness. Now she wants to play nice? It's too late for that. She's only scared because the captain showed up. Amara turns her head slowly, her calm eyes meeting Lauren's for the first time in minutes. Her voice is as soft and measured as ever, but it carries through the row like a quiet verdict. Amara. You spent 20 minutes humiliating me. Spilling water. Threatening security. Mocking me in front of everyone. And now you want to pretend it was a misunderstanding? Lauren's jaw tightens, her smile faltering for just a flicker before she catches herself. She glances toward the captain, then the officer, then the growing number of passengers recording openly now, their phones angled high, their lenses pointed directly at her. The businessman leans forward slightly, his voice calm but pointed. Businessman. Flight attendant, every second of this is being filmed. You can't rewrite what we all saw. Lauren spins toward him, her veneer of control cracking, her tone rising. Lauren, snapping. Sir, you are not part of this. Please, keep to your seat or I'll. The captain's voice cuts through like a blade, low but commanding. Captain. You'll what, Ms. Reed? Remove him too? Or maybe you'll threaten me next? Gasps flutter through the cabin. Lauren's mouth opens, then shuts again. The security officer steps closer, his presence now looming in the aisle. His voice is calm, but laced with a weight that silences the whispers. Officer. Ms. Reed, you're done. Stand down. Or we'll make it official right now. The murmurs swell again, the tension now a tight coil ready to snap. She's finished. They're about to remove her. Who is this girl that everyone's protecting? Lauren's eyes dart back to Amara, still poised, still calm, her fingers gently resting on the armrest. The morning sunlight catches her profile as she finally speaks again, her words quiet, deliberate, and final. Amara. You've had your chance to stop digging, Lauren. Now, you'll see where all your arrogance leads. The camera lingers on Lauren's face, her breath quickening, her grip on her blazer tightening as the faint sound of footsteps echoing up the aisle signals that someone else, someone important, is about to enter the scene. When power slips through your fingers, anger takes over. One reckless move, and everything you built crumbles in seconds. This isn't control anymore, Lauren, it's desperation. And every camera here will capture the moment you lose it all. The cabin feels heavier than ever. Not from noise, the whispers have dimmed, the phones remain up, the passengers frozen, but from the expectation that something is about to shatter. Lauren, her face taut with frustration, straightens sharply, her polished shoes clicking on the carpet as she takes one deliberate step closer to Amara. Her smile is gone. Her voice, when it comes, is sharp and stripped of all pretense. Lauren, low, simmering. I gave you chance after chance. Now, I'll make sure you regret every second you've sat in this seat. The businessman starts to rise slightly from his chair, his voice firm. Businessman. Don't. You'll end your career right here, right now. Lauren snaps her head toward him, eyes blazing. Lauren, snarling. Sit down. This doesn't involve you. She pivots back to Amara, her chest rising and falling faster, her fists flexing at her sides. The security officer takes a subtle step forward, his gaze fixed on Lauren's movements. Grace grips the manifest tighter, her knuckles pale. Amara, still seated, tilts her head slightly, her calm gaze unbroken. Amara, quiet, steady. You're shaking, Lauren. And everyone can see it. The words sting like a spark to dry kindling. Lauren's jaw clenches. Her hands tremble. And then, in one explosive motion, she raises her hand. The sound is sharp, shocking, echoing through the cabin as her palm strikes across Amara's face. Gasps erupt instantly, passengers sitting bolt upright, several standing in shock. The businessman lunges forward, catching himself before he crosses into the aisle. Grace drops the manifest, her hands flying to her mouth as her eyes widen in horror. The phones capture everything, the snap of the impact, the stunned silence that follows, the faint hiss of Lauren's breath as she realizes what she's done. Amara doesn't flinch. She doesn't touch her face. She doesn't even blink. Slowly, deliberately, she straightens in her seat, her voice soft but carrying through the silent cabin like a blade. Amara. You just made the worst mistake of your life. The passengers murmur, their whispers now urgent. Did she just hit her? She's finished. She's absolutely finished. Who is this girl that she's so calm right now? Lauren takes a step back, her chest heaving, her eyes darting from face to face as the weight of the scene crashes down on her. The security officer's hand drops to his radio, his tone low but firm as he speaks. Officer, into radio. We'll need ground team on standby. Lead attendant has just assaulted a priority passenger. Lauren's head snaps toward him, her voice rising, almost panicked now. Lauren, desperate. You don't understand. She doesn't belong here. She's... The captain cuts her off, his tone like steel. Captain. Enough, Ms. Reed. You've done more than enough already. The cabin falls silent again, all eyes on Amara, who finally turns her gaze fully to Lauren for the first time since the strike. Her expression is calm, unreadable, her voice soft but filled with a quiet authority that feels like a verdict. Amara. Now, you'll see what real consequences look like. The camera lingers on Lauren's face, beads of sweat visible near her temple, her poise unraveling completely as the murmurs of the passengers grow louder, fueled by every recording phone and every whisper of, "She's done." One moment, and the whole cabin knows who's really in control. Lauren, every move you made just handed her the stage. The whispers aren't against her anymore. They're against you. And now, she doesn't need to raise her voice to take everything from you. The cabin feels frozen in the aftermath of Lauren's slap. The faint hum of the engines is the only sound for a long, suffocating pause. Every passenger, phones raised, mouths half open, is staring at the two women at row 4. Lauren, chest rising and falling, clutches her hands tightly as if to steady herself. Her eyes flick desperately between the passengers, the captain, the officer, and Grace, but no one meets her gaze with support. Amara, still seated, slowly straightens her blazer where the splash from the earlier accident had dried slightly. Her face remains calm, her gaze steady as she looks at Lauren for a brief moment, not with anger, not even with disdain, but with a measured calm that unsettles more than any raised voice could. The businessman breaks the silence first, his deep voice carrying through the row. "Businessman, firm. You just assaulted a passenger. Every person here saw it. Every phone here recorded it. And she hasn't even moved." Murmurs ripple through the cabin, some sharp, some hushed. "She's not afraid of her at all. Did you see how calm she is? Who is she?" Lauren's finished. There's no coming back from this. Lauren snaps toward the businessman, her tone cracking as desperation seeps through. Lauren, defensive. "She provoked me. She's been disrupting the cabin since she boarded." The security officer steps closer, his presence heavy, his voice low but commanding. "Officer, the only disruption here is you." The words hit harder than any shout. Lauren's lips part to argue, but she sees the officer's hand still hovering near his radio, the captain's eyes boring into her, and Grace standing silently behind him, the manifest visible with its glowing note, "VIP priority, do not disturb." The camera shifts to Amara, who finally moves, just slightly. She reaches into her blazer pocket, pulls out a phone, and taps the screen deliberately. Her movements are slow, unhurried, each one laced with a quiet authority. She doesn't even look at Lauren as she speaks, her voice soft, almost soothing, but cutting through the tense silence like a blade. "Amara, I've been patient. I've given you every chance to stop. But now, your choices are no longer yours to control." The nosy socialite, who had earlier whispered snide remarks about Amara, now leans to her friend, her voice hushed but audible. She's not scared. Not even a little. She's calling someone. Who's she calling? Lauren, panic flickering in her eyes, takes a half step forward, her voice rising. Lauren, snapping. "Who are you calling? You think someone's going to save you? This is my plane." The captain cuts her off, his tone firm, his words deliberate. "Captain. Ms. Reed, you'd better stop talking. Right now." Lauren freezes. Her chest heaves, her hands tremble, and for the first time since the boarding began, she doesn't have a retort. Amara calmly sets her phone on the armrest beside her. She doesn't look up. She doesn't need to. But when she finally speaks again, her words feel like a verdict to everyone listening. "Amara, it won't be long now. And when it happens, you'll understand exactly why silence was my answer all along." The passengers lean forward, their whispers rising into an eager hum. Something big is about to happen. She's not just some random passenger. Lauren's about to find out who she's dealing with. The camera lingers on Lauren's face, her forced poise unraveling as the tension tightens, the sound of faint footsteps once again echoing from the cockpit, heavier, more deliberate this time. When power finally shows itself, it doesn't knock. It walks in. Lauren, every step echoing up that aisle is another nail in the coffin you built yourself. She never raised her voice. She never moved. But now, Her silence is speaking louder than you ever could. And everyone here is about to see why. The cabin is silent, not with peace, but with the heavy anticipation of something about to break. The faint hum of the engines is drowned by the sound of footsteps approaching from the jet bridge. Not hurried. Not hesitant. Just calm, deliberate, and echoing like a countdown. The passengers turn their heads, phones angling subtly, as the front door of the plane opens again. Two figures step in, sharply dressed assistants, each wearing tailored black suits, earpieces glinting under the cabin lights. They don't hesitate, they don't scan the passengers like strangers. They walk with purpose, heading straight toward row 4. Lauren stiffens. Her hands grip the edge of the service card as if it's a lifeline. Her lips part, but no sound comes out. She glances between the captain, the officer, Grace, none of whom move to stop the newcomers. The socialite whispers audibly to her friend, unable to contain herself. Who are they? Are they here for her? The businessman, calm and knowing, leans back slightly, muttering just loud enough for those around him. I told you. She's not just another passenger. The assistants reach row 4. One of them leans slightly toward Amara, their voice low, respectful, but loud enough for Lauren and the nearest rows to hear. Assistant 1, softly. Ms. Williams, the board is waiting for your review when we land. The car is already on standby. Gasps explode softly down the aisle. The murmurs rise like a tide, phones tilting higher, passengers leaning in. Ms. Williams? She's someone important. The board? The car? Who is she? Lauren's breath catches audibly. Her eyes dart to Amara, who still hasn't moved from her seat. The young woman finally turns her head, looking at the assistant with the same quiet composure she's had since the beginning. Amara, softly. Thank you. I'll be ready when we land. She doesn't acknowledge Lauren. She doesn't even glance at her. Her voice, calm and unshaken, feels like a curtain being pulled back, revealing just enough to make the cabin buzz with speculation. Lauren, desperate to salvage control, steps forward slightly, her voice shaky but still reaching for authority. Lauren, snapping. Wait, what's going on? Who are you people? This is my cabin to manage. The captain's voice cuts through the murmurs like steel. Captain. Not anymore, Ms. Reed. Not after what you've done today. The security officer adds, his tone calm but cold. Officer. I suggest you stand down, because the person you've been harassing owns more than just a ticket. The cabin erupts in whispers. Owns more than a ticket? She owns the plane, doesn't she? This is about to get good. Amara, still seated, finally looks at Lauren directly. For the first time, there's a glimmer of something more than calm in her gaze, not anger, not satisfaction, but a quiet, commanding certainty. Amara, soft, deliberate. Lauren. I told you. Your actions would have consequences. Now, here they are. The camera lingers on Lauren's face, her breathing shallow, her posture stiff as the reality begins to sink in, and the entire cabin feels the shift of power settling firmly on Amara's side. When the quiet one moves, everyone feels it. She doesn't need to shout, doesn't need to explain, one motion will say everything. Lauren, the seat you thought was your throne is about to become your witness stand. And every eye, every camera, every breath in this cabin is waiting for her next move. The air feels heavier than the pressurized cabin itself. The hum of the engines fades into the background as every passenger, every phone, every whisper, locks on Amara, the girl who hasn't flinched once since this began. Lauren's hands tremble faintly at her sides, her chest rising and falling in shallow, nervous breaths. Her earlier confidence, her barked orders, her condescending smiles, all of it is gone. All that's left is a strained posture, a clenched jaw, and the faint glint of sweat along her brow. Amara, her cream blouse and dark slacks still pristine despite Lauren's earlier accident, places both hands gently on the armrests of her seat. She doesn't rush. She doesn't glance at Lauren. She simply stands up. The motion is slow, deliberate. Her posture is flawless, her chin level as she faces the aisle. It's not just standing, it's claiming space, and the entire cabin feels the shift. Gasps murmur through the rows. The socialite, wide-eyed now, whispers audibly to her friend. "Oh, she's someone. Look at how the crew's looking at her." The businessman leans back slightly, his voice low but audible to the nearest passengers. "Now watch how fast the truth hits this cabin." The two assistants step closer to Amara, their movements sharp but deferential. One holds out a sleek leather folder, the other a phone already glowing with what looks like a live conference feed. Lauren swallows hard, her voice cracking as she tries to muster a shred of control. Lauren, strained. "Wait, who are you? You can't just..." Amara finally turns her head, meeting Lauren's eyes directly for the first time since the confrontation began. Her gaze is calm, unblinking, and when she speaks, her voice is soft, but the quiet authority in her tone silences the cabin instantly. "Amara. I am Amara Williams, and this plane? This airline? They're mine." The words hit the cabin like a thunderclap. The murmurs swell into a low chorus of disbelief. She OWNS the airline? Lauren just slapped the CEO. This is going to destroy her career. Lauren's lips part, her face draining of color. She stumbles over her words, her once commanding voice now nothing more than a shaky whisper. Lauren, stammering. I didn't know. I didn't realize." Amara lifts a hand gently, silencing her without raising her voice. Her tone remains even, but each word lands like a gavel striking wood. "Amara. You didn't need to know who I was to do your job with respect. That was your choice, and now, you'll face what comes from it." The security officer steps closer, his voice calm but final. "Officer. Ms. Reed, you need to stay where you are. Ground security will meet us when we land." The captain adds, his tone sharp. "Captain. Effective immediately, you're relieved of duty. Do not speak to or approach any passengers for the remainder of this flight." Gasps and murmurs rise like a wave as Lauren's shoulders slump, the realization settling on her like a physical weight. Phones catch every angle, her pale face, the assistants flanking Amara, the captain and officer standing as silent enforcers. Amara, still calm, turns slightly to address the cabin, her voice soft but clear. "Amara. I apologize for what you've all witnessed today. No passenger on my plane should ever be treated this way, and no employee will keep their position if they think otherwise." The passengers erupt in quiet applause, the atmosphere shifting from tense to awestruck as Lauren stands frozen, her downfall unfolding before the entire cabin. When desperation replaces arrogance, the fall is complete. Every word she says now isn't power, it's begging. "Lauren, the cameras aren't just watching. They're remembering. And every passenger here knows, nothing you say can save you now." The cabin is no longer tense, it's charged. Phones remain raised, their tiny red recording lights blinking like dozens of eyes. The passengers lean forward, whispering not about Amara anymore, but about Lauren. Lauren, her once pristine posture slumped, takes a shaky step toward Amara. Her voice, stripped of its earlier edge, is pleading now. Lauren, trembling. "Ms. Williams, please. I didn't know. If I'd known, I would have treated you with..." Amara lifts a hand gently, silencing her without raising her voice. Her tone is soft, but carries the kind of weight that fills every corner of the cabin. "Amara. You shouldn't need to know someone's title to treat them with respect. That's the difference between a professional and someone unfit to wear this uniform." Gasps and murmurs sweep through the passengers, their whispers almost a chorus. She's right. Lauren's done. There's no coming back. This is going to go viral the second we land. The businessman, his phone still recording, leans back and speaks loud enough for the row. "Businessman. Every second of this will be on the internet before the hour's over." Lauren's face pales further. Her hands twitch nervously at her sides, her eyes flicking between the officer, the captain, and the assistants. Her voice cracks as she tries one last desperate plea. Lauren, voice breaking. Please. I can't lose this job. I've worked my whole life for it. I didn't mean. The security officer steps forward, his tone firm but even. Officer, you didn't mean to get caught. But you did. And now there's protocol. Lauren looks back to Amara, her eyes glistening now, her earlier pride fully gone. Lauren, whispering. I'm sorry. I truly am. Amara studies her for a moment, her calm gaze unwavering. When she speaks, her voice is quiet, but it cuts like a final verdict. Amara. Apologies mean nothing without accountability. You've humiliated yourself and my passengers. Now, you'll face the consequences. The captain nods subtly to the officer, who steps closer to Lauren, resting a firm hand on her arm as a silent signal that she's no longer free to roam the cabin. Gasps ripple through the rows, a murmur building as everyone realizes. She's being detained. This is really happening. Lauren's career is over right here, mid-flight. The assistants turn to Amara, their tone respectful. Assistant 1. Ms. Williams, everything is prepared for your arrival. The board meeting car is waiting. Amara nods once, her eyes still on Lauren, her calm voice carrying one last message before she sits back down. Amara. This flight will land soon. When it does, your uniform, your badge, and your attitude will be left behind with it. The cabin falls into an odd hush, the tension now replaced by the weight of finality. Phones remain up, capturing every second of the lead attendant's downfall in real time. When authority is taken, it isn't loud. It's final. Every order she gave, every threat she made, now turned back on her. Lauren, the aisle you ruled a moment ago is now your walk of shame. And everyone is recording every step. The cabin sits in absolute silence as the officer's hand remains firm on Lauren's arm. The faint hum of the engines and the occasional ding of a seatbelt sign are the only sounds. No one moves, but every phone remains locked on her, their little red lights blinking. The captain steps forward, his voice calm but carrying enough authority to fill the entire cabin. Captain. Ms. Reed, you are relieved of duty effective immediately. You will be escorted to the rear of the aircraft until we land. You will not interact with any passengers. Lauren's lips part as if to argue, but the weight of the officer's grip, the captain's cold stare, and the rows of phones recording her every twitch leave her speechless. The businessman leans back in his seat, his phone still up, his voice a low murmur aimed at no one in particular. Businessman. Every airline exec in the country will see this by morning. The socialite, who once whispered snide remarks about Amara, now whispers again, but this time in awe. I can't believe I took her side at first, look at her now. Lauren, chest rising in shaky breaths, finally whispers, her voice trembling. Lauren, softly. Please, can I just stay out of sight quietly? I can't walk back there like this. The security officer's voice is even, but firm. Officer. You don't have a choice. Stand up straight and walk. Or I'll escort you. Phones tilt higher, passengers leaning into the aisle to capture the moment. Lauren, her head bowed slightly, takes a slow, reluctant step down the aisle, her polished heels clicking softly, the same sound that once symbolized her control now echoing as her walk of humiliation. Gasps and murmurs follow her down the row. There she goes, the same aisle she ruled like a queen. She slapped the CEO of the airline, and now she's done. This is the most insane flight I've ever been on. The camera cuts back to Amara, who has returned to her seat, calmly crossing one leg over the other. She doesn't gloat. She doesn't even watch Lauren walk away. Her gaze is fixed on the sunlight spilling through the window, the quiet power of someone who doesn't need to celebrate a victory, because she was never losing to begin with. The assistants lean closer, one murmuring quietly so only Amara and the nearest rows hear. Assistant 2, soft. The board has been notified. They want your statement when we land. Should we draft something now? Amara shakes her head gently, her voice soft but certain. Amara. No. Let them see for themselves first. The cameras will do the talking. The cabin settles, whispers fading into quiet murmurs of awe. The once tense space feels different now, calmer, but heavy with the aftershock of what just happened. Lauren disappears behind the curtain toward the back, escorted firmly by the officer. The faint sound of the curtain snapping shut feels like the last word in her chapter. Power doesn't need to shout. It just needs to be steady. The chaos she endured is over, and now, she owns the room without lifting her voice. Every passenger who watched in silence is about to see what real leadership looks like. And Lauren? Her name is already forgotten. The cabin feels different now. The tension that clung to every corner is replaced by a heavy quiet, not the kind born of fear, but of relief and awe. The passengers, still holding up their phones, lower them slightly, their whispers shifting from outrage to admiration. Amara, seated once more by the sunlit window, smooths her blazer with calm, deliberate movements. Her assistants remain by her side, standing with quiet attention, while the captain and security officer take positions near the galley, ensuring no one disturbs her again. The businessman across the aisle leans forward slightly, his tone soft but filled with respect. Businessman. Ms. Williams, thank you for staying so composed. Most people would have lost their temper long before now. Amara turns her head, meeting his gaze with a faint, calm smile. Her voice is low but carries through the quiet cabin. Amara. Anger only gives power to those who want chaos. Calmness, that makes them face themselves. The passengers nearby nod subtly, whispers spreading like a soft current. She never raised her voice once. That's real control. Real power. No wonder she runs the airline. The socialite, who once whispered mockery, now leans slightly forward, her tone apologetic but tinged with awe. Socialite, softly. Ms. Williams. I didn't know. I shouldn't have assumed. I'm sorry. Amara turns to her briefly, her gaze steady but not unkind. Her response is soft, almost a whisper. Amara. Respect shouldn't depend on knowing who someone is. But, apology accepted. The assistants exchange a glance, one leaning closer to murmur. Assistant 1, quiet. The footage is already trending, Ms. Williams. The board is receiving it live. Amara exhales softly, her eyes drifting back to the bright skyline through the window. Her voice is quiet, steady, and more to herself than anyone else. Amara. Good. Let them see what happens when the standards we set are ignored. The cabin settles into a calm rhythm. Passengers tuck their phones away, some still whispering but most now sitting quietly, sipping drinks offered by the remaining attendants, who move carefully and professionally, their eyes darting to Amara with silent deference. The captain steps forward one last time, addressing the passengers in a measured tone. Captain. Ladies and gentlemen, we apologize for the disturbance earlier. Service will continue as normal, and we'll be landing ahead of schedule. Thank you for your patience. The passengers murmur softly, many casting quiet glances toward Amara, the source of calm in what could have been a flight of chaos. And as the plane sails smoothly through the sky, the camera lingers on Amara's reflection in the window, a calm, composed leader whose silence carried more weight than any confrontation ever could. The end of a flight, but the start of her downfall. Lauren, every passenger, every phone, every staff member will watch as you're walked off this plane. This isn't just a job you're losing, it's your reputation, your pride, and the last shred of control you thought you had. And Amara? She won't need to say a word to finish what you started. The plane begins its slow descent, the faint ding of the intercom signaling passengers to fasten seatbelts. Outside the windows, the runway glints in the afternoon sun, growing larger as the aircraft lowers. Inside, the cabin is eerily calm. No more whispers, no more shifting eyes, just an unspoken anticipation, as though every passenger knows the real spectacle is about to unfold when the wheels touch down. Lauren, seated rigidly in the very last row, stares down at her trembling hands. The once pristine flight attendant's posture is gone, replaced with a hollow stillness. Every few seconds, she glances toward the front of the plane, where Amara sits poised by the window, her silhouette serene against the golden light. The businessman whispers to his seatmate, just loud enough for nearby passengers to hear. "Businessman, low. Ground security's already on standby. She won't be walking out on her own." Phones quietly click back on, passengers holding them low, ready to capture what they know is coming. The captain's voice fills the cabin, calm but firm. "Captain. Ladies and gentlemen, as we prepare for landing, please remain seated. Ground staff will be meeting us on arrival for a crew matter. We appreciate your cooperation." Gasps and murmurs stir the air. It's about Lauren, isn't it? They're going to walk her off in front of everyone. This is going to be everywhere online tonight. The plane touches down smoothly, tires screeching softly before the engines roar and the aircraft begins its taxi. As it slows, a black SUV pulls into view on the tarmac, idling just beside the private terminal. Two uniformed security officers and a sharply dressed company executive wait beside it, their postures formal and still. The curtain at the back of the cabin whips open as the onboard security officer gestures firmly. "Officer, Kurt. Ms. Reed, stand up. Time to go." Lauren rises slowly, her face pale, her movements stiff as her eyes scan the rows of passengers, all of them watching, many with phones pointed directly at her. Whispers ripple again. "This is it. She's being walked off. Look at her face, she knows it's over." The businessman lowers his phone for a moment, murmuring to himself with a knowing shake of his head. "Businessman, quiet. Actions have consequences." As Lauren begins the walk of shame down the aisle, every click of her heels echoes like a drumbeat. She passes row after row, phones following her every step, murmurs trailing behind. She slapped the CEO of her own airline. This will be viral before she even clears the terminal. She'll never work in uniform again. When she finally reaches row 4, where Amara remains seated, the CEO doesn't even turn her head. She stays poised, her hands folded neatly in her lap, her gaze fixed on the sunlight spilling through the window. But as Lauren passes, Amara speaks softly, without looking at her, her words carrying to every ear in the hushed cabin. "Amara. Remember this moment, Lauren. Not because of who I am, but because of what you chose to be." Lauren freezes for half a beat, her jaw trembling, before the officer nudges her forward. The last thing the passengers see is the curtain closing behind her as she's escorted into the waiting hands of ground security and the company executive outside. The assistants step forward to Amara, their tones respectful but brisk. "Assistant 1. Ms. Williams, your car is ready. The board is already in session." Amara stands, her presence filling the aisle with a calm, commanding weight. The passengers remain silent as she passes, their phones lowering out of quiet respect rather than curiosity. The camera lingers on her as she exits the plane, the golden light of the tarmac washing over her as the black SUV door opens. Without a glance back, she steps inside, leaving behind a cabin full of passengers who have just witnessed a lesson in power, respect, and consequence. Some leaders seek revenge. Others seek change. Amara doesn't need to shout or threaten, her presence alone commands the room. What happened on that plane won't just end a career, it will change an entire company. And everyone in that boardroom is about to understand why she's feared and respected in equal measure. The black SUV glides through the gates of the private terminal, its tinted windows reflecting the afternoon sun. Inside, Amara sits poised, hands resting lightly on her lap, her calm face turned toward the window as the city skyline slides by. Her assistants sit opposite, reviewing documents on sleek tablets, but no one dares break the silence. The vehicle slows as it approaches a towering glass building, the headquarters of her airline. Reporters wait by the doors, cameras flashing as the car comes to a stop. The assistants exit first, flanking the door before Amara steps out, her posture flawless, her expression calm and unyielding. The flash of cameras bursts like a storm, but she doesn't flinch. She simply walks forward, her heels clicking softly against the polished stone steps, the weight of her composure drawing every eye. Inside the boardroom, the executives murmur nervously around a long mahogany table. The viral footage of Lauren's humiliation already plays silently on a mounted screen, phone angles from multiple passengers stitched together, capturing every moment of the flight's chaos. When Amara enters, the murmurs die instantly. She doesn't need to clear her throat or ask for attention, she already owns the room. Her assistants close the glass doors behind her, and the CEO of the airline stands at the head of the table, unhurried but commanding. She places a leather folder on the table, the sound sharp in the stillness, and begins to speak, her voice low, deliberate, every syllable carrying weight. Amara. This isn't about a single flight attendant. It's about a culture that allowed this to happen. She gestures subtly to the screen, where Lauren's slap plays again in slow motion, the cabin's stunned reaction captured in crystal clarity. Gasps ripple softly through the room as if seeing it live wasn't enough, seeing it replayed cements the gravity. Amara, continuing. Respect isn't optional on my planes. It isn't earned only by titles or bank accounts. It is the baseline, for every passenger, every crew member, every moment. And anyone who can't uphold that, won't wear our uniform again. Her gaze sweeps the table, each executive meeting her eyes and quickly glancing down, none daring to interrupt. The assistants stand silent at her shoulders, their presence a quiet reinforcement of her authority. One board member clears his throat, hesitant. Board member, careful. Anne. Lauren Reed? Amara doesn't blink. Her tone remains even, but each word lands with the weight of finality. Amara. Her employment is terminated immediately. Legal will handle the assault charges. And the footage? It will be used in every training program we launch from this day forward. The room nods in unison, subdued but resolute. Amara closes the folder, her voice softening just slightly. Amara. This company will not just talk about dignity and respect, we will live it. Every flight. Every crew. Every passenger. She stands, her presence lingering like a quiet storm as the executives remain seated, silent, and humbled. The assistants open the doors, the soft sound of heels against marble echoing as she leaves the room. Outside, the sunlight pours through the glass atrium. The camera lingers on Amara as she exits, her calm silhouette framed against the skyline, a woman who didn't need to raise her voice to reshape an empire. Some leaders defend their image. The real ones defend their values. She doesn't just address the incident, she turns it into a movement. Every word, every pause, will echo far beyond her airline. And by the time she's finished, the whole world will know what she stands for. The soft glow of studio lights bathes the set, the polished backdrop reflecting a subtle skyline motif, her company's emblem faintly illuminated behind her. Amara sits poised in a sleek armchair, her cream blouse and navy blazer crisp under the lights. There's no makeup flourish, no overproduction. Just a calm, commanding presence. The interviewer, seated opposite, leans forward, a tablet in hand. Her tone is respectful, but tinged with curiosity. Interviewer. Ms. Williams, the footage from Flight 417 has gone viral worldwide. Over 20 million views in 24 hours. Everyone has seen how you handled that situation. What message do you want to send to the public? Amara takes a measured breath, her hands resting lightly in her lap. Her gaze meets the camera lens directly, her voice low, steady, and deliberate. Amara. Respect is not a privilege. It's a right. It doesn't matter if you're a billionaire or a first-time flyer. Every person deserves dignity, in the air, on the ground, everywhere. The interviewer nods slowly, visibly moved. Interviewer. And to those who don't have the resources or power you do, what would you tell them when they face disrespect or discrimination? Amara's tone softens, her words measured but infused with quiet strength. Amara. Strength doesn't come from status. It comes from knowing your worth, even when others try to strip it away. You don't need a title to demand respect. You only need to stand firm, and never let someone else define your value. The camera cuts to a live stream window, tens of thousands of comments flooding in from around the world. This woman is a force, She handled it with grace, not rage. That's real leadership. She just changed the way I see standing up for myself. Amara turns slightly back to the interviewer as the screen glows with supportive messages. Amara, this incident wasn't about me. It was about what we allow. That's why, starting today, every crew member in my airline will undergo new training, not just in service, but in humanity. And every passenger will know they are valued, no matter who they are. The interviewer leans back, clearly struck by the weight of her words. Interviewer, softly. Ms. Williams, your video statement is trending already. You're inspiring more than your passengers, you're inspiring people everywhere. Amara allows a faint, calm smile, her gaze lifting to the lens one last time. Amara, soft but resolute. True power isn't about making others fear you. It's about making sure they feel seen, safe, and respected. That's the standard. And it starts now. The camera lingers on her calm face, the comments still streaming in as the screen fades to black, the words "respect above all" appearing in bold white letters before the credits roll. One incident can spark outrage. True leadership can spark change. Amara's calm stance doesn't just end a scandal, it ignites a movement. From passengers to competitors, the world is watching and following. Her name isn't just trending, it's becoming a standard. The world reacts overnight. News clips flash across screens, social feeds overflow, and every headline echoes the same story: Airline CEO handles discrimination with grace, sparks global movement. Montage-style cuts flood the screen. Clips of passengers from Flight 417 speaking into microphones outside the terminal, the golden sunset framing their astonished faces. Passenger 1, on camera. She never yelled. Never threatened. Just handled everything. Watching her stand up without a word? That changed me. A junior flight attendant from another airline posts a video on social media, her uniform slightly wrinkled from a shift, voice shaking. We get told to smile and follow procedure, but she reminded everyone, even us, respect has to go both ways. Finally, someone said it. News anchors discussed the viral clip, side by side with footage of Lauren being escorted down the aisle. What's striking isn't just the slap or the humiliation. It's Ms. Williams' composure. No shouting. No chaos. Just quiet authority. Meanwhile, rival airlines issue public statements, scrambling to avoid being left behind. Anchor, voiceover. In a stunning move, 3 major carriers announced mandatory crew respect training, citing Ms. Williams' stance as the new industry standard. The camera cuts to a bustling cafe, where everyday travelers watch Amara's interview on a wall-mounted TV. A middle-aged man shakes his head slowly, murmuring to his friend. Man, quietly. For once, a CEO doesn't just protect their image. She actually protected people. Social media comments overlay the screen, scrolling fast. This is leadership. Book my next 3 flights with her airline. Loyalty earned. She handled a nightmare with grace, that's power. Back in her office, Amara stands by a towering window, the city lights glittering below. Her assistants stand a respectful distance behind her, reviewing the flood of positive PR reports. One assistant, tablet in hand, speaks softly. Assistant 1. Ms. Williams, every metric is up. Bookings, shares, press coverage. But more than that, the world is calling this a turning point for the industry. Amara doesn't turn. Her gaze stays on the city below, her reflection faint in the glass. Her voice is soft, almost a whisper, but carries the same quiet weight as on the plane. Amara. It's not about bookings. It's about proving that respect is non-negotiable. Everywhere. For everyone. The camera lingers on her reflection, her calm silhouette framed by the skyline, before the scene fades to the soft glow of her airline's logo, now stamped with a new slogan beneath it. Respect above all. Humiliation at 30,000 feet was just the beginning. Now, every camera, every headline, every reporter is waiting to watch her fall. There's no escape, Lauren, not from the footage, not from the world, not from yourself. And every word you say now will only echo your failure louder. The press conference room is a frenzy. Flashbulbs strobe across the stage, journalists jostling for position, microphones crowding the podium like a wall of judgment. The large screens behind the podium play looping clips from Flight 417, Lauren's slap, her march down the aisle, and Amara's calm, poised demeanor in contrast. Lauren stands at the podium, no longer in her pristine uniform. Her once perfect posture is hunched, her hair pulled back hastily, her eyes rimmed with fatigue. She clutches the edges of the stand, her knuckles white. Reporters shout over one another, their voices overlapping. Lauren, do you admit you assaulted the CEO of your own airline? Did you know who she was before the incident? Do you regret your comments about people like her? Lauren's lips tremble as she leans toward the microphones. Her voice, thin and shaking, barely cuts through the din. Lauren, hoarse. I want to apologize. To Ms. Williams. To the passengers. To the crew. My actions were unprofessional and unforgivable. Flashes explode, cameras capturing her every twitch. A reporter's voice rises above the others, sharp. Reporter! Do you feel you deserve another chance in the industry? Lauren hesitates, her eyes darting toward the floor. The pause is heavy, the silence thick. Finally, she exhales shakily, her shoulders sagging. Lauren, softly. I don't know. I just know I'll never forget the consequences of that day. The room erupts with more questions, but Lauren steps back from the podium, her gaze fixed on the ground as she's guided off stage by a PR handler. The cameras keep flashing, capturing her exit, her fall from authority now complete. Cut to a news montage. Headlines flash, flight attendant fired after slapping airline CEO, industry shaken. Social feeds swarm with clips, side-by-side comparisons of Lauren's downfall and Amara's calm authority. Commentary reels in. This isn't just about one person. It's about changing how passengers and staff are treated everywhere. Finally, the screen fades to Amara's company headquarters. The same slogan appears again, bold and sharp beneath the airline's logo. Respect above all. Some stories end with punishment. The real ones end with purpose. For Amara, this isn't just about one flight, one employee, or one scandal. It's about rewriting the culture from the top down. And this time, the world isn't just watching, it's following. The headquarters auditorium is full. Hundreds of crew members, pilots, flight attendants, ground staff, sit in rows, their eyes fixed on the stage. A soft spotlight illuminates the podium, where Amara Williams stands, poised and calm, in a tailored navy suit. Behind her, a massive screen plays muted footage, moments from Flight 417, Lauren's confrontation, the slap, and Amara's composed response. Beneath the video, in bold white letters, the new slogan reads, Respect above all. Amara looks out over the crowd. Her voice is steady, carrying to every corner of the room without effort. Amara. What happened on Flight 417 wasn't just a failure of one person. It was a reflection of where we, as a company, allowed cracks to form. The staff remained silent, their faces a mix of unease and attentiveness. Amara gestures toward the screen, where the footage freezes on Lauren being escorted from the plane. Amara, continuing. That will never happen again. Because today, we are changing everything. The screen behind her transitions, showing new training protocols, cultural values, and staff initiatives. Her tone softens slightly, but her words retain weight. Amara. Respect doesn't cost us anything. But when we fail to give it, the price is everything, our passengers' trust, our employees' dignity, and our name. A ripple of nods moves through the audience. Some flight attendants exchange glances, their postures softening as they realize the shift isn't just disciplinary, it's a promise of change. The businessman from Flight 417 appears via video feed on the big screen, speaking directly to the crew. Businessman, recorded. I saw firsthand how one person's arrogance could tarnish an entire brand. But I also saw how one calm, strong leader restored it. Follow her example, and you'll never have to watch your company burn on the evening news again. Applause swells softly, building as Amara closes the session with a final statement, her voice calm but powerful. Amara. This is our standard now. Not just for this airline, but for everyone who steps into our care. No passenger will ever question their worth on our flights again. And no employee will ever forget, respect isn't a rule here. It's who we are. The screen fades to the company logo one final time, the slogan glowing beneath it. Respect above all. The camera pans out, showing the entire staff rising to their feet in applause, the sound swelling until it fades into the soft hum of jet engines, symbolizing the airline moving forward under new standards. The screen fades to black, the words appearing in bold white letters. Inspired by true events. Change begins with one decision. Even after the cameras stop rolling, power doesn't sleep. The world saw the press conference. But behind closed doors, the real moves are made. Amara isn't done yet, and the people in this room know it. Lauren's name might disappear, but her actions will shape every decision from here. The boardroom is dimly lit, only the soft glow of city lights seeping through the towering windows. The long mahogany table is scattered with files, reports, and glowing tablets. Amara sits at the head, her posture poised but her expression thoughtful. Her assistants stand nearby, one flipping through a digital briefing, the other taking notes quietly. Across the table, senior executives sit in tense silence, waiting for her to speak. The viral footage still loops on a muted screen in the corner, Lauren's slap, the hush in the cabin, Amara's calm response. The sound isn't needed. Everyone here knows the weight of that moment. Amara finally leans forward, her voice low, steady, and deliberate. Amara. The world believes we handled this well. But public perception isn't the goal. Changing the culture is. One executive shifts uneasily, his pen tapping the table. Executive. With all due respect, Ms. Williams, staff morale is fragile. Firing Lauren might make a statement, but some crew are nervous about new expectations. Amara's gaze cuts to him, calm, but sharp enough to still his hand. Amara. Anyone nervous about treating people with dignity is welcome to resign. We're not lowering the bar because a few can't reach it. Her assistants exchange subtle glances, the quiet intensity in her tone filling the room. Amara, continuing. Draft a memo tonight. Every employee will receive retraining. Every leader will be reviewed. And every flight will now have secret audits. No one, not even senior crew, is beyond scrutiny. The executives nod, subdued, their earlier tension replaced with compliance. Amara leans back slightly, her voice softening just enough to feel like a closing statement. Amara. Lauren Reed's mistake wasn't just her words or her actions. It was forgetting that people remember how you treat them long after they forget what you say. This company will not make that mistake again. The camera pans out, the faint sound of rain beginning against the glass windows as the lights dim, a symbol of a storm settling, but leaving change in its wake. Leaders don't just fight battles in public, they carry them home in silence. Even the strongest need a moment to breathe. This isn't power or image now, this is Amara, the woman, away from the noise. And tomorrow, she'll step back into the storm stronger than ever. The city skyline glows softly through a floor-to-ceiling window as night settles. Amara stands barefoot in her penthouse apartment, her heels resting by the door. The soft hum of distant traffic filters up from the streets below, muffled by the glass. Her blazer hangs over the back of a chair, her hair slightly looser now. On a nearby counter, her phone buzzes repeatedly with notifications, news alerts, social media tags, board emails. She ignores them, her gaze fixed on the sprawling lights outside. A faint reflection of her face appears in the glass, calm, but with the weight of the day lingering in her eyes. She exhales slowly, gripping a glass of water in one hand as she leans her forehead gently against the cool pane. Her assistant's voice filters through softly from the other room. Assistant, gentle. Ms. Williams, your statement is trending in 80 countries. They're calling it the respect above all movement. Amara doesn't turn. Her voice, when it comes, is soft, not CEO steel, but something more human. Amara. Good. Maybe this will outlive me, because today, it felt like the world finally listened. The camera lingers on her reflection, her eyes softening for just a moment before she closes them, allowing herself a rare pause. The city lights blur slightly, the sound fading as the scene transitions. The day should be over, but storms don't end when the cameras do. One phone call, and the calm shatters. Amara may have silenced the chaos in the skies, but something on the ground still threatens to undo it all. And this time, it isn't Lauren, it's something bigger. The penthouse is dim, the city lights spilling in through the window. Amara sits now at her kitchen island, her glass of water untouched, her expression calmer, until her phone buzzes sharply, the tone different from the flood of alerts she's been ignoring. She glances down. The caller ID isn't familiar, but the prefix marks it as internal corporate security. Her brow furrows. She answers, her tone cool but alert. Amara. Williams. The voice on the other end is tense, clipped, and low. Security officer, over phone. Ms. Williams, we've just uncovered something. Lauren Reed wasn't acting alone. There are crew chat logs, private ones, mocking passengers, discussing who deserves premium treatment, and your name came up more than once. Amara's posture stiffens, her calm expression tightening slightly. Her tone remains even, but her eyes sharpen. Amara. Send me everything. Tonight. The officer hesitates. Security officer. Ma'am, this involves senior staff. People high enough that firing them could trigger a wave of resignations. Amara exhales slowly, her gaze drifting back to the skyline, her reflection darkened now in the glass. Her voice drops, calm, but with a blade's edge beneath it. Amara. If they think their titles will protect them, they learned nothing from today. Clean house. I'll deal with the board myself. She ends the call, sets the phone down gently, and stands by the window once more. The soft glow of the skyline reflects her calm exterior, but the camera lingers on the tension in her jaw, a storm brewing beneath her poise. The faint hum of traffic below seems to grow louder as the scene fades to black, leaving a sense that the true purge hasn't even started yet. Some leaders wait for morning. The real ones act before the sun comes up. Amara's fight isn't over, now, it moves from the cabin to the core of her company. The crew who mocked passengers thought the storm ended with Lauren, but tonight, they learn it's just begun. And Amara isn't coming quietly. She's coming prepared. The clock reads 12:47 a.m. The glass-walled conference room at Airline headquarters glows like a lantern in the otherwise dark skyscraper. Inside, a small team gathers, Amara's trusted inner circle. Her two assistants stand beside a digital board displaying screenshots of private crew chat logs. Snippets of mocking comments and discriminatory remarks flash across the screen, each one stamped with time codes and crew member names. Amara stands at the head of the table, arms crossed, her posture calm but her eyes coldly focused. Assistant 1, grim. It's bigger than we thought. 10 staff involved. 2 senior supervisors leading it. Assistant 2. And they've already started trying to scrub the logs since the flight footage went viral. Amara exhales, her voice low but sharp. Amara. They think deleting messages erases accountability. It doesn't. I want every name confirmed, every file backed up, and HR prep for immediate terminations by dawn. One of the executives at the table, an older man with cautious eyes, leans forward, his tone hesitant. Executive. Ms. Williams, with respect, if we fire this many at once, we'll have gaps in operations. Some of these are veteran staff. Maybe suspensions. Amara's gaze cuts to him like a blade. Her tone doesn't rise, but the weight of each word freezes the room. Amara. Veteran or not, anyone who forgets our passengers are human doesn't wear our badge. We'd rather run short-staffed than rot from within. The assistants exchange a subtle nod. The decision is final. Assistant 1, quietly. Understood. We'll prepare the notices and arrange replacements. First wave of interviews starts in the morning. Amara steps closer to the glowing digital board, her calm reflection overlapping with the screenshots of the chat logs. Her voice drops to nearly a whisper, but it carries to everyone in the silent room. Amara. Lauren's slap was just the surface. This culture, this arrogance, ends tonight. The camera pans out, showing the glowing conference room high above the sleeping city, Amara's figure framed against the skyline, a lone silhouette orchestrating a storm that will reshape her company by morning. They thought they had until morning. She gave them until sunrise. Every name, every message, every insult they thought they could hide, it's all on the table now. This isn't a quiet HR meeting. This is Amara making sure they understand, respect isn't optional. And today, she won't send assistants. She'll do it herself. The sky is pale gray with the first light of dawn. The airline's main operations hub is usually a buzz of early morning energy, but today, it feels like a storm is brewing inside the glass walls. In a private staff briefing room, 10 crew members, including the 2 senior supervisors, sit in uneasy silence. Their uniforms are crisp, but their expressions betray nerves. The confiscated printouts of their group chat messages sit on the table in front of them, every mocking remark and discriminatory comment highlighted in red. The door opens. Amara steps in. She is in informal attire now, just a simple black blouse and slacks, but her presence still fills the room with the same weight as when she walked through the cabin of Flight 417. She doesn't sit. She doesn't need to. Her gaze sweeps the room once before she begins, her voice low, deliberate, and razor-sharp. Amara. Lauren Reed was just the beginning. The 10 of you thought you could mock passengers, mock my name, and treat respect as optional. You thought no one would hold you accountable. Her eyes land on the 2 supervisors at the far end of the table. One opens his mouth to speak, but Amara raises a hand, not loudly, but with enough force to silence him instantly. Amara, continuing. Your titles don't protect you. Your seniority doesn't protect you. And neither does deleting messages. This culture dies today. She steps closer to the table, her fingers brushing over the highlighted transcripts as she continues, her tone even but unyielding. Amara. Your terminations are effective immediately. Security will escort you out. Your badges, your uniforms, and your clearances are revoked. As of this moment, none of you represent my airline. Gasps and murmurs break out among the group, but no one dares raise their voice. The security officers at the door step forward, their presence a quiet confirmation that there's no appeal. One of the younger attendants, tears in her eyes, whispers. Attendant, soft. Please. I didn't start it. I just didn't stop it. Amara's eyes soften slightly, but her voice remains firm. Amara. Silence in the face of disrespect is complicity. Let this be the last time you forget that. She turns to the officers, giving a single nod. The doors open, and one by one, the crew members are escorted out, their once confident strides replaced by quiet, defeated steps. As the last door shuts, Amara turns to her assistants, her voice softer now but resolute. Amara. Draft the company-wide announcement. By noon, every employee will know respect isn't just policy. It's survival. The camera lingers on her as she stands alone in the now empty room, the pale morning light spilling through the blinds, framing her as the storm that reshaped everything before the city even woke up. When a company is broken, words alone can't fix it. But the right words, from the right leader, can rebuild it stronger than ever. This isn't just a speech, it's a new foundation. And every person watching knows, this is the day everything changes. The auditorium at headquarters is packed wall to wall. Thousands of employees, pilots, attendants, ground crew, and corporate staff sit in tense silence. The low hum of murmurs dies instantly as the lights dim and the massive screens on either side of the stage flicker to life. Amara steps onto the stage, her posture flawless, a single spotlight cutting through the darkness to frame her. Behind her, the screen glows with the words, "Respect above all, new standards for a new era." She pauses, scanning the sea of faces. Her voice, when it comes, is steady, low, but powerful enough to carry through the entire hall without strain. Amara. In the last 48 hours, the world watched what happens when we fail our passengers. They saw arrogance, prejudice, and disgrace on my planes, wearing our uniform. Gasps ripple quietly through the crowd. No one moves. No one dares to interrupt. Amara, continuing. But they also saw something else, that we, as a company, do not tolerate it. Not for a second. Not from anyone. The massive screen behind her shifts, showing clips from Flight 417, Lauren's confrontation, the slap, and Amara's calm, poised presence. The footage plays without sound, each image a silent reminder of why they're all here. Amara's tone softens slightly, though it still carries. Amara. Respect is not a slogan. It's not a training module. It's not something you give only when it's easy. It is the standard. It is the air we breathe. And anyone unwilling to live by that will not be here tomorrow. A hushed ripple passes through the crowd, a mix of fear and resolve. Some employees exchange quick glances, their postures stiffening, while others nod subtly in agreement. Amara, firmly. Starting today, every employee, from executives to first-year attendants, will complete mandatory humanity and service training. Supervisors will undergo audits. And every passenger interaction will be monitored for quality, without exception. The camera pans slowly across the audience, some faces tense, others quietly relieved, knowing change is coming for the better. Amara takes one step forward, her final words delivered with a calm gravity that feels like both a promise and a warning. Amara. We fly people, not numbers. And anyone who can't remember that simple truth has no place in this company. Not now. Not ever again. The screen behind her fades to black, replaced by the company logo and its glowing slogan. Respect above all. Applause doesn't come immediately, but when it does, it's slow, deliberate, and unified, swelling into a standing ovation that feels less like applause for a speech and more like acknowledgement of a new era. The camera lingers on Amara, her calm gaze sweeping the hall before the lights fade to black. Not every hero makes noise. Some just do the right thing, quietly. Grace didn't shout, didn't argue, didn't film the chaos, but she stood where it mattered. And Amara doesn't forget the ones who choose courage over comfort. Today, a quiet voice earns a louder future. The executive floor is calm, sunlight streaming through tall windows, casting warm light across polished floors. Grace, the junior flight attendant from Flight 417, stands nervously outside Amara's office, her hands clasped in front of her. An assistant opens the glass door, gesturing her inside. Grace steps in cautiously, her uniform immaculate but her posture unsure. Amara sits behind a sleek desk, reviewing a document, but she looks up as Grace enters. Her tone is calm, not cold. Amara. Grace. Please, sit. Grace perches on the edge of the chair, her hands still folded tightly in her lap. Grace, softly. Ms. Williams. I just wanted to say. I'm sorry for what happened on that flight. I wanted to step in, but I didn't want to lose my job. Amara leans forward slightly, her gaze steady but kind. Amara. You didn't have to shout to be brave. You stood your ground when Lauren pushed, and you tried to do the right thing. I saw it. The passengers saw it. Grace's eyes widened slightly. Grace, quietly. You noticed me? Amara's faint smile softens her usual steel. Amara. I notice everyone who chooses integrity over fear. And people like you are the ones this company needs leading, not just serving. She slides a folder across the desk toward Grace. Inside is a promotion letter, lead attendant in training. Grace's eyes widen as she scans the words, her hands trembling slightly. Grace, breathless. Ms. Williams. I don't know what to say. Amara stands, placing a hand gently on the folder before Grace can speak further. Her tone remains calm, but carries quiet weight. Amara. Say nothing. Just keep proving why people like you will be the ones shaping this airline's future, while the rest become history. Grace nods, her eyes glassy with relief and gratitude. The camera lingers as she leaves the office, her steps lighter than when she entered. Amara turns back to the window, the city skyline glowing as the late afternoon sun spills through, her reflection once again faintly visible in the glass, a leader who never lets courage go unnoticed. Some mistakes cost your job. Others cost everything. Lauren thought humiliation on that plane was the end of her story. But today, the world watches as her downfall becomes permanent. And there's no aisle to walk down this time, only a courtroom. The courtroom is packed with reporters and cameras, their lenses glinting under the fluorescent lights. The low hum of murmurs fills the air, echoing off the wood-paneled walls as Lauren sits at the defendant's table, her once confident posture now replaced with slumped shoulders and vacant eyes. Across the room, a screen displays the viral footage from Flight 417, the slap, the passengers gasping, Amara's calm stare as Lauren's temper unraveled. Every replay is another nail in the coffin. The judge's gavel strikes once, silencing the room. Judge, firmly. Lauren Reed, you are charged with assault and conduct unbecoming of a certified airline employee. The evidence speaks for itself. Do you have anything to say before sentencing? Lauren rises shakily, her hands trembling as she grips the edge of the table. Her voice is hoarse, strained, and barely audible over the weight of the moment. Lauren, softly. I want to apologize again. To Ms. Williams. To the passengers. To everyone I disrespected. I thought I was untouchable. And now, I know I'm not. The judge regards her for a long, silent moment before speaking, his tone measured but unyielding. Judge, your actions not only humiliated your passengers but endangered the reputation and trust of your industry. You will pay a fine, serve probation, and you are permanently barred from working in any licensed airline service. Gasps and murmurs ripple through the courtroom. Lauren's knees nearly buckle as she sinks back into her seat, her face pale and expression hollow. Outside the courthouse, the press swarms like a tidal wave, cameras flashing as Lauren is escorted down the steps. Questions fly, each one a dagger. Lauren, any comment about losing your license? Do you regret everything you said about Ms. Williams? What's next for you now? Lauren keeps her head down, her voice barely a whisper as she passes the crowd. Lauren, under her breath. I don't know. I just know I'll never forget her face when she said consequences. The camera pans up, the courthouse steps shrinking beneath as the sound of flashing bulbs fades, Lauren's chapter closing not with another outburst, but with silence and shame. Some leaders rebuild behind closed doors. Others rebuild in the open. Amara isn't just fixing a company. She's setting a new standard for an industry. Every word today isn't just for her airline, it's for the world watching. And by the time she leaves this stage, the movement she sparked will no longer need her voice to keep going. The grand hall of an international aviation summit is filled with CEOs, industry leaders, and hundreds of media representatives. Massive banners hang from the ceiling, each displaying the new slogan Amara has made famous. Respect above all. The low buzz of conversation dies as Amara steps onto the stage, dressed in a sharp charcoal suit, a subtle silver pin of her airline's logo on her lapel. The massive screen behind her shows the iconic footage, not Lauren's slap, but the moment Amara calmly stood and revealed who she was aboard Flight 417. The audience leans in, not out of gossip, but out of respect. Amara pauses at the podium, scanning the hall before her voice cuts through the silence, steady, low, and deliberate. Amara. 2 weeks ago, one flight showed the world what happens when we forget what we stand for. But it also showed the power of calm, of dignity, and of holding the line when everything tells you to break. The screen shifts, now showing clips of new training programs, staff testimonials, and social media movements sparked by the viral footage, passengers praising the company, other airlines adopting similar reforms. Amara, continuing. This isn't just about one airline. It's about every person who has ever felt small when they should have felt safe. It's about every employee who thought silence was safer than integrity. And it's about every leader who thought image mattered more than people. The crowd listens, many nodding subtly. A few executives exchange uneasy glances, as if realizing the weight of her words isn't just for applause, it's a challenge. Amara takes a step closer to the edge of the stage, her final words delivered with quiet power. Amara. From this day forward, every company, every leader, and every crew member who wears a uniform must remember, titles don't give us value. Humanity does. And respect isn't negotiable. The screen behind her fades to black, leaving only the glowing words. Respect above all. The audience rises in a slow, unified standing ovation, not the loud cheer of a spectacle, but the solemn, powerful acknowledgement of a movement that now belongs to more than just one airline. The camera lingers on Amara as she steps back from the podium, the soft echo of applause carrying as the lights fade to black. Every storm ends. But some leave skies clearer than ever. Amara never asked to be the face of a movement. She just refused to bow to disrespect. Now, as the world moves on, she finally lets herself breathe. Because for the first time in weeks, she knows the skies, and her company, are truly calm. The sun sets over the city, casting warm orange hues across the skyline. The scene is quiet, no press, no boardrooms, no flashing cameras. Just Amara, standing alone on the rooftop terrace of her headquarters, her hands resting lightly on the glass railing as the wind brushes her hair. The faint sound of jet engines echoes above, a plane soaring smoothly into the horizon. Amara tilts her head slightly to watch it pass, her reflection shimmering faintly in the glass as the glow of the city begins to rise beneath her. Her phone buzzes once, a message from Grace, "Thank you for believing in me. I'll make you proud." Amara allows the faintest smile, typing a simple reply, "You already have." She slips the phone back into her pocket and exhales, her gaze fixed on the fading horizon. The camera circles slowly, framing her against the skyline, the city alive below, the planes gliding smoothly above. A soft, reflective score swells as she closes her eyes for a brief moment, her posture relaxing for the first time since the ordeal began. A voiceover of her closing words from the summit, Scene 34, echoes softly over the visuals. Titles don't give us value. Humanity does. And respect isn't negotiable. The screen fades to black, the airline's logo appearing one last time with the glowing words beneath. Respect above all. The music fades, and after a long, cinematic pause, white text appears. Inspired by true events. Change begins when someone refuses to be silent.